कवर्तृषे नमः। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलां श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितां तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी, जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवरधारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवरधारी, यशोदानंदना व्रज जनरंजना, यशोदानंदना व्रज जनरंजना, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी, जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवरधारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवरधारी, यशोदानंदना व्रज जनरंजना, यशोदानंदना व्रज जनरंजना, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, today we are going to read the shloka. It's from Kapil Dev's teachings. One second. Okay. Okay. Everybody can see my screen, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. And okay, this verse I am reciting, it's from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 25th chapter and 32 verse. And I would like to read the synonyms and follow after me. Sri Bhagavan Vacha
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Devanam
Devanam
Gunalinganam
Gunalinganam
Anushravika
Anusravika
Karmanam
Karmanam
Satve
Tattve
Eva
Eva
Ekamanasaha
Ekamanashaha
Vritti
Vritti
Swabhaviki
Swabhaviki
Tu
Tu
Ya
Ya
Animitta
Animitta
Bhagavati
Bhagavati
Bhakti
Bhakti
Siddhe
Siddhe
Gariyasi.
Gariyashi.
Okay, I forgot to say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Devanam Gunalinganam
Devanam Gunalinganam
Anushavika Karmanam
Anushavika Karmanam
Sattvayevaika Manaso
Sattva Evaka Manaso
Vritti Swabhaviki Tuya
Vritti
Vitti
Bhagavati.
Svabhaviki Tuya
Animita Bhagavati
Animita Bhagavati
Bhakti Siddhir Gariyasi.
Bhakti
Siddhir Gariyasi.
I'll go again. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Devanam Gunalinganam
Devanam
Anushavika Karmanam
Anushravanam
Karmanam
Sattvayevaika Manaso
Sattva Manaso
Vritti Swabhaviki Tuya
Vritti
Svabhaviki Tuya
Animita Bhagavati
Animita
Bhagavati.
Bhakti Siddhir Gariyasi.
Bhakti Siddhir
Bhakti
Gariyasi.
Anyone would like to recite?
Shri
Shri Bhagavan. Go ahead.
Okay. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Sri
Shri
Bhagavan
Bhagavan Vacha
Devanam Gunalinganam
Devanam Gunalinganam
Anushravika Karmanam
Anushavika Karmanam
Sattva Evaika Manasho
Sattva Ivaika Manaso
Vritti Swabhaviki Tuya
Vritti Svabhaviki Tuya
Animitta Bhagavati
Animita Bhakti
Bhakti Siddhir Gariyasi.
Bhakti Siddhir Gariyasi. Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Sri
Shri
Bhagavan Vacha
Devanam Gunalinganam
Devanam Gunalinganam
Anushavika Karmanam
Anushravika
Karmanam
Sattva Ivaika Manaso
Sattva Evaika Manaso
Vritti Swabhaviki Tuya
Vritti
Vritti
Svabhaviki
Swabhaviki
Animita Bhagavati
Animita Bhagavati
Bhakti Siddhir Garishasi.
Bhakti Siddhe Gariyati. Okay, synonyms. Sri Bhagavan Vacha,
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
the Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
Supreme
The
Personality
Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
Devanam,
Devan
Devanam,
of the senses or of the preceding deities of the senses.
of the
senses
senses
of the
or
presiding
of the presiding
senses.
deities of the senses.
Gunalingana,
Gunaling,
Anam,
which detect sense objects.
which detect
detects
subjects.
Anushravika,
Anushavika,
according to scripture.
According to scriptures.
Karmanam,
Karmana,
Karma,
which work.
which work.
Satve,
Sattva,
unto the mind or unto the Lord.
unto the mind or
and
unto
the Lord.
Eva,
Eva,
only.
only.
Ekamanasaha,
Ekamanasa,
Ekamanasa,
of a man of undivided mind.
of a man of undivided mind.
mind.
Vritti,
Vritti,
inclination.
inclination.
Swabhaviki,
Swabhav,
natural.
natural.
Tu,
Two,
in fact.
in fact.
Ya,
Yeah,
which.
which.
Animita,
Animitta,
without motive.
Without
without
motive.
motive.
Bhagavati,
Bhagavati,
to the personality of Godhead.
To the
to the
personality
personality
of
of
Godhead.
Godhead.
Bhakti,
Bhakti,
devotional service.
devotional
Devotion,
service.
Siddhe,
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 then salvation.
then
then
salvation.
salvation.
Gariyasi,
Dariyashi,
better.
better.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
May.
Lord Kapila said, the senses are symbolic representations of the demigods, and their natural inclination is to work under the direction of the Vedic injunctions. As the senses are representative of the demigods, so the mind is also representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The mind's natural duty is to serve. When that service spirit is engaged in devotional service to the Personality of Godhead without any motive, that is far better even than salvation. Purport. Prabhuji, would you like to read the purport?
I can read, Mataji.
Okay, good.
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The senses of the living entity are always engaged in some occupation, either in activities prescribed in the injunctions of the Vedas or in material activities. The natural inclination of the senses is to work for something, and the mind is the center of the senses. The mind is actually the leader of the senses. Therefore, it is called sattva. Similarly, the leader of all the demigods who are engaged in the activities of this material world, the sun god, moon god, Indra, and others, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shall I continue to read, Mataji?
Yeah, go ahead.
It is stated in the Vedic literature that the demigods are different limbs of the universal body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Our senses are also controlled by different demigods. Our senses are representations of various demigods, and the mind is a representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The senses led by the mind act under the influence of the demigods. When the service is ultimately aimed at the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the senses are in their natural position. The Lord is called Rishikesha, for he is actually the proprietor and ultimate master of the senses. The senses and the mind are naturally inclined to work, but when they are materially contaminated, they work for some material benefit or for the service of the demigods, although actually they are meant to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The senses are called Rishika, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Rishikesha. Indirectly, all the senses are naturally inclined to serve the Supreme Lord. That is called bhakti. Kapila Dev said that when the senses, without desire for material profit, or other selfish motives are engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is situated in devotional service. That spirit of service is far better than Siddhi, salvation. Bhakti, the inclination to serve Supreme Personality of Godhead, is in a transcendental position far better than Mukti or liberation. Thus, Bhakti is the stage after liberation. Unless one is liberated, one cannot engage the senses in the service of the Lord. When the senses are engaged either in material activities of sense gratification or in the activities of the Vedic injunctions, there is some motive. But when the same senses are engaged in the service of the Lord and there is no motive, that is called animitta and is the natural inclination of the mind. The conclusion is that when the mind, without being deviated either by Vedic injunctions or by material activities, is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness or devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is far better than the most aspired for liberation from material entanglement. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Brahma. And this chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is called the teachings of Kapila Dev. And just a brief description of Kapila Dev. He is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, born to Karda Muni and then Devahuti Mataji. Like Karda Muni, he did so many years of austerities, like I think 10,000 years or more. Then Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in front of him and he said, you are going to marry this very austere girl, and then you are going to get, I am going to born for both of you. Then he married Devahuti. She's actually king's daughter, and then she is very she serves Karda Muni very nicely, and then they both had 9 girls first, and then Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he appeared as Kapila Dev as a son to Devahuti. And then Karda Muni, when the Kapil Dev is old enough, then Karda Muni left for because that is the he left that wife like in the care of his son, and then he left for more penances and for tapasya, right? And Devahuti, then it is the ideal bhakti, the devotee family, like they are they discuss only topics about the how Supreme Personality of Godhead, how to reach him, and also it is, of course, they passed all those stages. This is the benefit for all of us to learn from their teachings, that how to perform bhakti. She asks very nice questions, and she asks a question in the, I think, 28. I will go to that one. 1 second. Yeah, Devahuti Vacha Kachi Tvayi Uchta Bhakti Kidrishi Mama Gochara Yaya Padam Te Nirvanam Agnya Sanvasnavya Aham. She is asking, on hearing this statement of the Lord, Devahuti inquired, what kind of devotional service is worth developing and practicing to help me easily and immediately attain the service to your lotus feet? And it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that no one is barred from rendering service to the Lord, whether one is a woman or a laborer or merchant. If he engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, he is promoted to the highest perfectional stage and goes back home, back to Godhead. The devotional service is most suitable for different types of devotees is determined and fixed by the mercy of the spiritual master. Okay. He is answering to this question. Then we got these verses, right? And the current verse. And I found very nice in the book called Teachings of Kapila Deva, there is a more detailed explanation of this chapter, if this verse, right? And also, yeah, this is also not this one. Okay, and I will read that one, right? And bhakti devotional service is transcendental even to mukti or liberation. This when I read this verse, I remember that in the Damodara Ashtakam also, Satyavrata Muni he explains also, like in the 2 verses. It is.
Okay, that's fine.
Fourth verse and then 7th verse. Varam deva moksham na mokshavadin va na chanyam bruneham vareshadapiha idam teva punada gopala balam sada me manasya virastam kimanai. Although, O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation nor eternal life in Vaikuntha nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. Oh Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. And also in the 7th verse, Kuberatmajau bhatta murtaiva yadvad tvaya mochitau bhakti bhajau krutau cha tada prema bhaktim swakame prayacha namokshe graho me sti damodareha. O Lord Damodara, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakora, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. So from these verses, we can understand that a devotee doesn't want any liberation, mukti or anything like that. He passed that phase already. And I think I am going to read anyway. In that also it comes like Bilvamangal Thakur also prays similar way. I'm coming to that one second. And generally people are concerned with dharma, artha, kama and moksha. In the beginning, there is dharma, religion, and then artha. Artha means economic development. Kama is sense gratification, and then moksha, merging into the supreme one. However, bhakti is above all these. Mukti is not very important for a bhakta. In the words of Bilumangal Thakura, Mukti swayam mukulitanjali sevate sman. Mukti herself is standing with folded hands waiting to serve the devotee. He wrote it in the Krishna Karnamrita 107. This is the experience of Bilumangal Tagore, who was a very rich South Indian Brahmana. Due to bad association, we know the story of Bilumangal Tagore, right? Like he's with a bad association, he got into this prostitute hunter, and then he spent all his money on her, and her name is Chintamani. And one night, even though it is terribly raining, he went to see Chintamani, and then she was not expecting. She was thinking he may not come because it's so bad outside. But still, he was able. He in the rain he went there, and on his way he crossed the river, and also he has to, because the main door was closed, he had to climb up on the roof and then catching a snake. All these terrible things he tolerated. Still, that desire to see her is so much. Then he went to see her, and then she said, when she is if you just had this much of attraction for Krishna, you are so attracted to this skin. If you just had this much of attraction for Krishna, it would be certainly for your benefit. And then he immediately got into senses. Then he immediately left the prostitute house, and he went to Vrindavana. He's going on his way, and then he got disturbed again. And on his way, he saw a merchant's wife, and then she started following her, and then she complained to her husband, and husband said, "Okay, please him. He looks like a nice person, and he's a guest, Then when she's present in front of him, then he realized again and then asked, "Mother, can you give me your hairpin?" And then he took her hairpin and then poked his eyes so that he won't be distracted again by seeing the beauty of the woman, right? So we all know this one. But then he became a really, in the Vrindavana, he prayed to Krishna for so many years, and he wrote a very beautiful literature, right? The Krishna Karnamrita is one of them. And then he wrote, like, Mukti is not very important thing. She's always at my service with folded hands saying, "My dear sir, what can I do for you?" Thus a devotee is not very anxious for Mukti because he's already liberated. And if a man has $1 million, why should he hanker for 10 rupees? And also here we will know that no, bhakti should be animitta, without any motive. Actually, Krishna can fulfill all our wishes without difficulty because he's almighty and he's full of all opulences. If we want material happiness from Krishna, it is certainly not difficult for him to grant it. He can also give us mukti, liberation, but it is foolishness to ask anything from Krishna except bhakti. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that asking God for mukti or anything else other than bhakti is like going to a rich man and asking for some ashes, you know. And there is another story. I felt it's very funny. And it is like about an old woman who was carrying a bundle of dry wood through the forest. Somehow or other, the bundle, which was very heavy, fell to the ground. The old woman became very disturbed and thought, who will help to put this bundle back on my head? She then began to call on God, saying, "God, help me." Suddenly, God appeared and said, "What do you want?" She said, "Please help me to put this bundle back on my head." So this is our foolishness, right? When God comes to give us some benediction, we simply ask him to load us down again with all these material bundles. We ask him for more material things, for a happy family, for a large amount of money, for a new car or whatever. And regarding this, my spiritual master always sings a song just to, you know, it goes like this. Give me a Cadillac, give me a Cadillac, a brand new Cadillac, replete with Michelin tires. Give my wife new silk sari. Give my kids Harvard education. Give me a house by the sea. Om Jai Jagadish Hare. Like, this is how we pray to the God, you know. It's automatically we ask for material things, you know. That is the human mentality, right? We have to come out of that, right? Supreme God is so powerful. He can do much, you know. We can it is not just this life is only out of so many lifetimes. This is one life. Of course, it is very valuable life. It is not to be spent on, you know, hankering for this thing and that thing. And then this is always will be there. The material life is always dukkhalayam. There is no happiness. Even we try, we get something, we will hanker for better thing, and then or sometimes we lose thing, and then we will be crying. This is happens all the time. So there is no satisfaction. If you ask, you know, you are dreaming for a better car, like, you know, suppose Mercedes-Benz or BMW, and then if you go and ask the persons who have a BMW, Mercedes, they'll say, no, I wish I had Lamborghini or something like that, you know. It never ends. That it is like burns like fire. It never ends. The desires, they are continuously burns. So it is we have to focus the mind and senses on Supreme Lord Krishna. He is the Lord of controlling the senses. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us that we should only beg God for his service life after life. He says, Nadhanam najanam na sundarim kavitamba jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanisware bhavatad bhakti ahaituki twayi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requests Lord Krishna's service birth after birth. It is not that he is seeking salvation, rather, he simply wants to serve Krishna one life after another. The devotees are not anxious to merge into the existence of the Supreme. And then here Prabhupada also discriminates between the Buddhist philosophy and our philosophy. And then the Buddhist philosophy advocates nirvana, the negation of all material desires. Buddha does not offer more than this. They say the desires are the cause. They found out the root cause, but there is that so you have to stop your desires. Is it possible? Because the mind is it's a inclination, natural inclination is to serve. That is the basic nature of the living being, but that cannot be stopped. Don't serve, it is not possible. If it either it serves Supreme Lord or it serves the senses, so it serves Maya. But you cannot stop it, completely stop from not desiring anything. So we have to dovetail our desires to the Supreme Lord, in the service of the Supreme Lord. That is the right way. It is only that is halfway that Buddha philosophy doesn't work. And Shankaracharya gives a little more, saying that we should become desireless in this material world and then enter into the Brahman effulgence. That goes a little forward. And this is called Brahma Nirvana. And according to Vaishnava philosophy, however, we should negate material desires and be situated on the Brahman platform. But in addition, we should engage in the devotional service of the Lord. This is called bhakti. And this is where the difference is. This Shankaracharya philosophy of Brahma Nirvana, it only works only for temporarily, because when your pious credits are expired, then those whoever reached the Brahman effulgence, they have to fall down back into the material world. Then what is the point? This is not the ultimate goal. And also, we have to, that is really, and also Prabhupada clearly says a lot of times that not accepting Supreme Personality of Godhead as a personality, Bhagavan, that if we don't accept him as Bhagavan, and that means also it is also almost equal to denying the God, like atheist, right? But their understanding is only up to that level. They got attracted with the effulgence of the God, and they don't go never forward to see where is that effulgence coming from. That is coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. But they don't go that far, and they stop at the effulgence. And then in the effulgence, there is no rasa. There is nothing to serve. Nothing to, there is no exchange of love between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living being. So they eventually they fall down back after their pious credits are expired, right? And even Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came in Kali Yuga to give us the Sankirtana movement, and their teachings. All these are to elevate us and to get for us, for the human life, human beings, to help the human beings to understand this science. And then they have to, our goal is to go back home, get back to Godhead, to serve him, right? Not to take service from the Lord, right? Let me go, what is next? And this Kapila Dev, he taught Sankhya philosophy. And then it is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 also, this Sankhya philosophy was explained. Like Sankhya philosophy basically means what is the analytical study of the material and spiritual worlds, right? Materials, what is material and what is spiritual. And what is material is everything, when it is material things and spiritual thing, everything is coming from the Lord. Material things are coming from the external energy of the Lord, and spiritual coming from the internal energy of the Lord, internal potency of the Lord. So the once external energy of the Lord is called Maya, internal energy is called is the internal energy is Krishna himself. And if we use the material things in the service of the Lord, it becomes spiritual. And then the Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapila, which is material philosophy, it's there are two Kapilas. There, one he is the atheist Kapila, and then Kapila Dev from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the bona fide teachings. So, however, the real Sankhya philosophy is propounded by Kapila Deva is transcendental to the 24 elements and material activity. Thus, in this Sankhya philosophy, which is actually Bhakti Yoga, there is no desire for material benefits. On the material platform, a person works for his own personal sense gratification or for some expanded sense gratification. One may work for himself, family, wife, children, society, community, nation, and humanity at large. This is simply expanded sense gratification. Whether one steals for himself or for family, community, or whatever, the fact remains that he is a thief. It is stated, and also there is example that when Alexander the Great arrested a common thief, the thief told Alexander, "What is the difference between us? I am a small plunderer and you are a great plunderer." Being very sensible, Alexander released him, saying, "Yes, there is no difference." Regardless whether the sense gratification is for oneself, one's family, or one's nation, or whatever, it is after all sense gratification. We also know this, from this also we know from Ishopanishad, it says, Isavashamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjita magrudas kaschat siddhanam, right? Everything is controlled and owned by the Lord, and we have to accept as much as needed for our maintenance, and then thinking that everything belongs to the God. So, this is the this is better, this is the right philosophy than some people, they will build hospitals or help the poor, feed the poor, they are do all those things. That's only extended sense gratification, either extended sense gratification or they want name and fame, so it doesn't help. And also not this one lifetime, we have to help the soul, not the body is just a covering. And Prabhupada makes a note also here, right? In Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, it never states Krishna Vacha. Krishna says, it never say the verses, never say that. Like Kapila Deva Vacha, no. Right? It says Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead says. This means that the version is perfect. If we receive knowledge from an ordinary man, there will be many defects. An ordinary person is subject to illusion, and he also has the tendency to cheat. Although an ordinary person may be very advanced scholar, he does not possess perfect knowledge. Perfection is something totally different from what we find in the material world. Perfection means that there is no mistake, no illusion, no cheating, no imperfection. Therefore, it is stated Bhagavan Vacha. Like Bhagavan is all perfect. We should therefore take knowledge from Bhagavan, or from one who speaks according to the version of Bhagavan. The Krishna conscious movement is based on this principle. We are not presenting anything that we ourselves could manufacture. Whatever we manufacture is sure to be defective and deficient. And a devotee never thinks that he's a great bhakta. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, has stated, Puri shera kita hai te moni se lagista. I am lower than the worm in the stool. This is the Vaishnava conception. A Vaishnava is by nature very humble. He never says, I am the supreme, I have become God. Krishna says, I am God and worship me. And then Vaishnava says, Krishna is God, worship Krishna. It is not very difficult to become a guru, provided that we repeat what Krishna says. And also, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whatever Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita is dharma. Dharma is one. It cannot be different. Dharma means abiding by the orders of the God. However, if we do not know the God or his providers, we can only be about manufacturing some rubbish and fighting among ourselves. That is not dharma, but philosophical speculation. All of this speculation and manufactured dharma has been kicked out by the Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is this kind of philosophical speculation is cheating. Bhagavad Dharma is not cheating, for it is related to the Supreme Lord. Bhakti can be applied only to Bhagavan, and if there is no Bhagavan, there is no Bhakti. If Bhagavan is zero, where is Bhakti? Bhakti is the transaction between Bhagavan and the Bhakta. Bhagavan is there and Bhaktas are there, and the Bhaktas address Bhagavan, feed Bhagavan and chant Bhagavan's names, invoke people to hear about Bhagavan, publish books about Bhagavan and worship Bhagavan, and in this way, they are constantly absorbed in Bhagavan. This is the process of Bhakti. And okay. And okay, I prepared some notes. 1 second. And this verse also relates to the Bhagavad Gita verses. That's what 2.53, like it says, Shruti viprati pannate yada stasyati nischala samadhau achala tada yogam avapyasi. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Yeah, I forgot to mention this point. When your mind is not disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, what does that mean? Is Vedas, there is a particular section of the Vedas, Karma Kanda section, that gives some ritualistic activities you can perform to get certain things, but but it is only like controls sense gratification, so that the final goal is to gradually bring the person to the higher platform later, but it's a slow process. But a person who is aspiring to be bhakta or aspiring to be devotee, he should not be like to get distracted by the Vedas and then that karma kanda portion of the Vedas, but rather than self-realization is much more higher than all those. So it is, and also easy process, not slow process. And also in the Bhagavad Gita 2.55, Sri Prajahati yada kaman sarvan bharta manogatan atmani evatmana tushta stita prajnas tadochyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. One has to give up all kinds of sense desire manufactured by mental concoction. Artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped. But if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desires subside without external effects. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation. For this, devotional service will instantly help one onto the platform of transcendental consciousness. The highly developed soul always remains satisfied in himself by realizing himself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. Such a transcendently situated person has no sense desires resulting from petty materialism. Rather, he remains always happy in this natural position of eternal serving the Supreme Lord. And also we see this is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Sarvopadi vinurmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesa sevanam bhakti ruchyate. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all of our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. And who is the best example for from the Srimad Bhagavatam? That Maharaj Ambrish, he's the one, he engaged all his senses in serving the Lord. In this beautiful verses, this is from 9.4.18 and 20. Savai manah Krishna padara vindayor vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane karo harer mandir marjanadishu Shrutam chekara chutasat katodaye mukunda lingalaya darshane drishav tad bhratya gatra sparsenga sangamam granam cha tatpada saroja saurabhe srimad tulascha rasanam tad arpite padav hare kshetra padanu sparshane siro hrishikesa padabi vandane kamancha dasye natukama kamyaya yatottama shloka janasrayarathi. Maharaj Ambrish always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna, his words in describing the glories of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the temple, Lord's temple, and his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna and about Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavana. He engaged his senses of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his senses of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord, and he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasada. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord. 24 hours a day. Instead, Maharaj Amrisha never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. Okay, and also we know this how to control the this famous prayer, you know, that this bhajan by Govind Das Kaviraj, that Vajahure mana Sri Nandanandana Bhaya Charanara Vindare Durlabha Manava Janama Satsange Durlabha Manava Janama Satsange Taravoye Bhava Sindhure Sita Tapa Bata Barishana Yedina Jamini Jagire Vifale se binu kripana durajana Chapala sukhala bala gire Bajahore mana Sri Nandanandana Bhaya charanara vindare Yedhana yauvana putra parijana Ite kiyache parati tire Kamala dala jala jivana tala mala Bajahu hari padani tire Bajahore mana Sri Nandanandana Bhaya charanara vindare Sravana kirtana Smarana bandana Pada sevana dasyare पूजन सखी जनात्मनिवेदन पूजन सखी जनात्मनिवेदन गोविंद दास अभिलाष रे भज हरे मन श्रीनंदनंदन भय चरण रविंद रे. Just I'm going to read the translation for the only first line, first two lines of the song. O mind, just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, which make one fearless. Having obtained this rare human birth, cross over this ocean of worldly existence through the association of saintly persons. So we have this very nice congregation, and we have a nice association of His Grace Pyari Mohan Prabhu and Jiva Mataji, and we should take the advantage of this sadhus association, and then we have to try to progress spiritually, right? We have to take this Krishna conscious process more seriously, and I have to take it more seriously and focus on my Krishna consciousness. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I consider myself very unqualified to present the Srimad Bhagavatam, but thank you for listening me. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for wonderful class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I can